Greetings, music lovers. It's Monday. I don't know how it's Monday. The only person who's got the right advice for Monday, right, is Ebony, the mini schnauzer, who disappeared so far under the duvet. All I could see this morning when I was wandering around was an ear, little ear sticking out. Anyway, hi everybody. What a heck of a week. What a heck of a week. What a heck of a weekend. I'm what's left of Russ Kane. You're tuned to The Daily Show. This is Men's Radio Station. Not one, but two fabulous guests, although one guest has just disappeared for some reason or other. Hopefully she'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, an interesting way to... she's back. Thank goodness for that. Interesting way to introduce a co-host for today. Another Neil Long. Neil,
I am not discombobulated by that impression anymore. I've processed my hurt. I've processed my feelings. It no longer takes me to the dark place.
Thank God for that. Robert Van Buren, DJ from Sweden. He's not. He's a clockmaker. Hi, Robert. And I can't do any of the jingles because Boy Wonder, who's away for like 2.5, 3 weeks, he's got all the machinery, and I don't have the. Ian Foreman, I love you. I love your smoked salmon. Ian, hi there. Now, very importantly, I want to bring on somebody special because everybody is going on and on and on about what happened. And we're going to get on to all of Neil's stuff because Neil's got some fantastic. I want to talk about scammers, how it affects you, what it does. I've got a song that Neil's done. It's great. But rather than Neil and I go on about what happened at the Oscars, and there's a reason I want to talk about it. It's not because I want to do it because it's clickbait. It's not when I want to do it because everyone else is talking about it. There's lots of reasons. Hey, but before we do that, let's go to New York State. This is so cool. I love it. Dr. Asa Dan Brown, PhD, DNCCM, Triple C, farts. What is all that?
Fayettes.
Fayette. Is that what they call a small Italian car over in Texas? A Fayette.
They say
A Fayette. I don't know. Always good to see. And then from now we go to Manhattan. Elizabeth Green, morning, it's freezing here. Well,
good morning, Dr. Brown. Thanks for the LinkedIn request. I've responded to you.
He's a great guy. Right, let's talk about what happened yesterday with someone who's actually an expert. Former CEO of BAFTA Los Angeles, BAFTA member, basically a grand fromage in the world of movies. It's our very own Chantal. Now,
hey, Chantal.
Thank you so much for finding time because this was a sort of last minute thought and I hadn't seen all the breaking news. Chantal, walk us through what happened amazingly in Los Angeles last night.
Okay, well, there was a live broadcast, as we know. It started about 5 o'clock in the afternoon over there.
You're slightly quiet. You're slightly quiet today.
Slightly quiet? Shall I talk a bit? Is that any better?
Yeah, slightly better. But you look fantastic.
Oh,
indeed.
It was the Oscars. It was Oscars night 2022, taking place in Los Angeles at the Dolby Theatre. The Oscars have been losing audiences hand over fist in recent years. They used to get an audience of about 100 million. I think last year it was under 10 million. That is not to add to the idea that there is a conspiracy theory around what happened last night. I think there is no conspiracy theory here at all.
No.
Chris Rock, a very well-known American comedian who is coming to do a tour in London very soon, was announcing the winners of an award and had a bit of a preamble, pre-written gags, just being funny. Chris Rock is a very funny comedian. He mentioned G.I. Jane, the second version, or the second follow-up to G.I. Jane 1, in which Demi Moore, who was the actress in it in 1997, I think, had a shaven head.
Yeah. Which was for real. She actually did have a head. I think it was a Ridley Scott film. I may be going mad or something. Yeah. But it was somebody heavy duty. And they shaved her head and had like 12 cameras everywhere to make sure that they got all the shots.
Indeed. So he very briefly mentioned G.I. Jane 2 and said to Jada, "Hi, Jada, I love you. Looking forward to G.I. Jane 2. and then just let the joke hang in the air. It wasn't really a joke. It was just a reference to G.I. Jane 2, which may or may not exist. I don't think it even does.
Doesn't exist,
but clearly referred to the fact that Jada, Will Smith's wife of many, many years, is bald. The reason she is bald is because she had alopecia 4 years ago and then decided to shave off the rest of her hair and has been bald ever since. So the joke landed a bit in the room. People laughed. Will started to smile and laugh.
Yes.
But the shot of Jada was one of thunder. She was absolutely thunderstruck.
Furious.
Will then immediately picked up on the fact that this joke had crossed the bounds of taste and decency, and he got up from his chair. He walked straight onto the stage. Nobody tried to tackle him. Because
at which point, even Chris Rock went, "Oh, like it's a gag, and like it's going to be a routine."
Exactly. And I think that's what everybody thought. It was going to be a sort of comedy knockabout routine. And he walked straight up, and as I understand it, it's what's been described by the police as a slap. He slapped Chris Rock across the face with his right hand. There isn't a photograph of the actual hand hitting skin because the camera was in front, so you can't actually hear it, but you can hear it. He then turned on his heels. He walked back to his seat, at which stage Chris Rock then says, Will Smith just beat the SH1T
out of me.
And laughs and is very disconcerted. He doesn't quite know where to go. He's sort of looking around, waiting for a stage direction from somebody. But I don't think he was on talkback. I don't think he had anybody saying anything in his ear. There would have been too many people and he wouldn't have needed it anyway.
Yeah.
And he then stumbled into announcing the winner. Whilst he was trying to do that, Will shouts out to him twice, not to mention his wife's name again and not to say it from his effing mouth. He says that twice. In England, in the UK, we heard the whole thing. The Australian audience heard the whole thing. Lots of people around the world heard it. In America, it was bleeped, where the show would have been on a time delay of either 3 to 5 seconds, and the network will have added in the bleep. Unlike the BAFTAs, which is pre-recorded by about an hour and then tidied up, the Oscars is effectively live with this tiny little delay. Anyway, this slap has created absolute mayhem across the world of entertainment. Will Smith, 35 minutes later, won the Best Actor award for a film called King Richard. He cried throughout the whole acceptance speech. There was some vaguely rambly reference to God had put him there to
course
people.
Always drag in, when you have got an argument, drag in God. It always works.
I know. It sort of started with God and it got a bit more rambly after that. It always slightly worries me when the Americans start talking about God at the beginning of a sentence, but that's
before they invade you. I was saying.
Exactly. And actually, I think the audience is completely divided one way and the other as to whether it was an overreaction or not. People who immediately said it was an overreaction have now retracted their tweets. Nobody on the further red carpets, particularly at the Vanity Fair party afterwards, would say anything critical at all.
God forbid.
Everybody runs to the hills at a time like that in Hollywood. The only thing to say is nothing. Now, and people would not be drawn on it.
There's so many things out of this. This isn't about showbiz. This is about how it affects everybody else. One, for us, it's bloody good entertainment. Let's be honest. We don't care. You probably have met these folks. I'm never going to meet them. I'm just watching with my punter's hat on. I didn't watch it deliberately. I saw all the stuff this morning. I thought, wow. And then I saw that the Guardian had put up the uncensored version.
Oh.
And of course, everybody, Neil, so immediately the social media goes, oh, it was a stunt. I said, right, look at this. One, look at her face.
I've lost audio. I'm going to come back to you. Give me
okay, then. Okay, right. Okay, see you in a mo. So what happened, Neil, was that you see Jade. It's really interesting. He laughs at the joke.
He got cross because she got cross.
Yeah,
And
I think it was like, are you going to let him say that about me?
and he had to kind of, I suppose,
Yeah,
be shown to defend her honour. But
Yeah.
it's not the image I've always had of Will Smith. I've always had the
precisely.
image of Will Smith as a really joyful, bubbly, who would probably be able to laugh that kind of thing off. And it's just sort of shattered my image of Will Smith a little bit.
Interesting. Let's see if Chantas has got sadly the Ovaltine tin and the string between her place and my place sometimes gets run over by a bus. So let's try again.
Sorry
Right.
about that.
That's
My
better. And
mum
we can hear you beautifully
Back in
now.
all your glory. Welcome.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Here's the thing. I had it been now, imagine some of these scenarios, which goes into where we are in 2022, which I don't know about everybody else. To me, it's just a nightmare. Imagine if it was a white guy doing the gag, and no one else has said this. So I don't know if I'm being brave or stupid, right? If it was a white guy doing the gag and a black guy comes up and slaps him, or reverse, there would have been the most massive fallout. It would have been huge. It would have been absolutely gigantic.
I think it already is huge, Russ. I mean, this is a big deal. Nobody is ever going to forget this Oscars. I was at the Oscars 3 years ago where they announced the wrong winner.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
But this completely overshadows that.
Now, you're the professional. You're the professional here. How does that, first of all, were it you, let's put on our professional hats for a minute. Somebody makes a joke which you find offensive. Wouldn't you wait? It's a slightly loaded question. Wouldn't you wait till afterwards, go up and give them an absolute mouthful?
Yeah.
Would you have to do it during the ceremony?
No, I think he easily could have waited. I think it was probably the wrong time to do it. And I think violence is a ridiculous.
You see, there you go. That's what I was aiming for.
Yeah.
When is violence?
Yeah.
Absolutely. When is it justice? See, here's David Green. It's a very interesting chat. More respect for Mr. Smith defending his family. And that's very sweet of you. Thank you, Sen. I appreciate
But
that.
is that the
We're
way to
looking
do
forward
it,
the
though,
party.
David? Is that the way to do it, to slap someone in the middle of a public ceremony? I'm sorry, I don't agree. Look,
See, I don't agree. I don't agree. A lot of people said, yes, Chris Rock's a DICK, and I've had lots of messages. I don't know the guy. I'm never going to meet the guy. I mean, I find him pretty funny, to be honest with you.
I do.
But I don't think it's ever acceptable in something which you know is going to be seen by hundreds of millions of people. Has now, because the video by this morning had hit something like 120 million, 130 million people. It's not violence is not, in a world where everyone says, oh, let's be kind, don't do this. You don't go up and do that. And by the way, just to be clear, and please back me up on this, Chantal, when we say slap, it wasn't like this. The guy Smith put his arm right back, and it was wallop.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a serious wallop.
It was a real clap. It was a real open-handed slap.
Yeah.
And he really meant it. But of course, the cameras were on him. He could have sat in his chair, shook his, nodded his head or done anything as though to say that was unacceptable, and then potentially use the red carpet later to talk to the press and say how furious he was and it was bang out of order.
Yeah.
But he overreacted in the moment. It was poor behavior, I think, really.
Now, here's an interesting take on it, because it's about violence and how we react to situations and our mental health, how we demonstrate it to others when people look. They don't look to me. They probably look to you. They probably look up to them. They would look to me, but they would look to Will Smith. And this is Facebook users. So it's somebody watching, I would imagine, on my espresso bar site. Russ, if you or I had jumped up and hit Chris Rock, we'd have been arrested and in jail now. Totally. Yeah. So Will Smith got off very lightly.
Well, it may be. Chris Rock still has the right to go to the police and file charges or make a complaint, and a charge could be filed. At the moment, he has said to the LAPD that he doesn't want to do that, but he could indeed change his mind. I'm sure he won't. They will want this story to go to bed as fast as possible.
Is it
Neil, go on.
Police prosecute if they wanted to, with or without Chris Rock?
Now, I don't know enough about the law to know whether that would happen. I'm sure in this case they would not prosecute unless Chris Rock wanted prosecution.
Sure.
But it puts Chris Rock or anybody like that who's got a certain image, tough kind of chippy guy.
Yeah.
If you do that, they go, oh, he went to the police because he got slapped.
Yeah.
You can see that even if it damn well hurt, and you could see it hurt because, as Chantal said so correctly, you heard it. Boom, you heard it. And he was stunned afterwards. I mean, this is a consummate professional, used to hecklers. He's brilliant in stand-up. I mean, brilliant.
Yeah.
Almost unsurpassed. And he was lost.
Yeah.
Neil, it was like when you and I, if something happened, you're lost. But in that horrible, I don't know what to do now way.
Yeah.
He recovered really well, I have to say.
He did. But it was a very long 3 seconds it took him to recover, if you know what I mean.
It felt like an 8. So what do you think? Because you would know, we could only make surmises, but you're on the inside scoop track. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I know that Will Smith's PR person was in tears after the event. I heard that from a journalist who was there. So clearly people were upset. And I think everybody will be upset by what transpired on both sides of this story, argument, whatever it is. I just think it's very sad. It will always be talked about. It won't do either of them any good, to be honest. But it is what it is.
I wrote to somebody today. There are no winners here.
No,
because it was a crappy joke. You see, Ricky Gervais can kind of get away with it because he says, "Look, I'm gonna be horrible. I'm gonna be horrible. Maybe I mean it. Maybe I don't." But wow. I thought you don't. Somebody, Catherine Apanovich, who's marvelous. I'm sure you know her. I've never met her, but we correspond nearly every day. And she said, supposing Chris Rock had made the comment about someone in the middle of chemotherapy, was that funny? But of course, it's not funny.
Indeed.
And you've got to see it from the wider thing.
Yeah.
From Jaden Smith. Look, I don't know the woman. I'm not a fan or not a fan. It's irrelevant to me. But if you've got alopecia, especially as a woman, you're going to feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
Totally understandable. Anybody would feel vulnerable.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the joke wasn't funny. And actually, Chris Rock shouldn't deliver material that isn't funny. And that was a poor joke, and it was poorly delivered. The wording wasn't quite right. There was no comedic element in the middle of it that allowed him to get away with it. So, it was just poor.
Well, it wasn't. What was it, a gang? It's like, oh, you've shaved your head.
Yeah.
Well, if she'd done it as a fashion, if she'd done it like whoever was in the Me Too, that I can't remember the actress's name, forgive me, and she's got a shaved head. She was one of the Rose McGowan, was it? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Then you could do the gag because that's her personal choice. Oh, Chances is gone. I think she's got a dodgy connection today. If it's your personal choice. Are we back? There we go. I wish you'd pay your electricity bill. Honestly.
No, it's my own fault because I'm on an iPad today, not on.
Oh, right. So it's so nice of you to jump in because I know I gave you virtually no. What I was going to say is this: if an actress or an actor shaves their head out of personal choice, it's how they want to look, that's fine. But if it's a medical condition, pretty cheap gag. Yeah. Pretty cheap thing to do.
Although, just to play devil's advocate, I mean, I go to a comedy club most Sunday nights, and generally there's no holds barred there. Generally. Although I'm thinking now, if they knew that someone had a medical condition, would they make a joke about it? Now I'm on the fence. I'm not sure. But I mean, pretty much apart from blatant racism, for example, which would not be acceptable, pretty much they can joke about pretty much anything. It's a tryout night, so people try things out. So,
but the world of difference forgive me for jumping in, but the world of difference between doing a tryout night watched by, let's go wild, 200 people, I don't know, 100 people, 50 people, all right? Offensive is still offensive, but there's a world of difference between that and thinking I'm on the world's biggest stage, going globally. There's a whole different set of parameters that you have to bring in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was insensitive. It was simply insensitive, and a poor joke didn't work, and was found by the people to be incredibly offensive. Now, if she'd laughed, would have been fine. But
if she'd have smiled, we'd just gone. I mean, like just before that, when you see the full uncensored clip, he does a whole riff on, oh God's sake, come on, Penelope Cruz and her husband Javier Bardem, because they were both up for an award, and he made a gag, and Penelope Cruz went like that, and Javier Bardem, you know, they played along, because it wasn't hurtful. I mean, the gag there was, well, if one wins, then the other's going to be hacked off. This, you know, it's a kind of fairly gentle joke, but it's not about. I mean, you wouldn't make a gag about someone with anorexia, would you?
No.
I mean, you wouldn't say if somebody had anorexia, say, looking forward to seeing you in The Hollow Man 2. You wouldn't do it.
No, well,
but it's true, isn't it? I mean, it sounds stupid, but it's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
I tell you what's interesting, Chantal. Thank you for doing this, because I asked somebody else who will remain totally nameless, very, very high up in the film industry, and I've just had a message saying, Russ, I just can't, because everybody is raging about this one way or the other, and whatever I say, I'm going to get clobbered. But you gave us a really wonderful, objective, and professional view in it. See, it's interesting. Look at this from Ramsey. It's like, if telling a tasteless joke merits a bunch, a slap, then Jimmy Carr would have had permanent black eyes.
What about Frankie Boyle?
Well, there you go. Frankie, well, I can't bear Frankie Boyle. That's just me. I used to like him, and then I thought, what's the matter with you? You just seem to hate the world. Interestingly, and this goes back to how we are as people. Jimmy Carr in real life, I haven't met, but somebody works with him all the time. He is nothing like the person you see. Because I said, oh God, I bet he's horrible. The sweetest, nicest, shyest person. And then Jimmy Carr, the performer, comes on, totally different.
Yeah.
I find that really interesting. So conversely, Will Smith, we all go, oh, isn't he great? Wish he was our dad and all that sort of thing. Boom.
Yeah. He's very well liked in Hollywood. I mean, you never really hear anybody say horrible things about him, or indeed about Chris Rock. So I think it's really sad for both of them. It was a tasteless, poorly delivered joke that really was badly written and didn't land. And none of them come out of this smelling of roses.
It's interesting because he then tried to do the Ricky Gervais thing about, oh, come on, it was just a G.I. Joe gag, which didn't help. That was kind of like pouring a 4-star petrol, bring back those days, onto a thing. But Ricky Gervais wouldn't have let it go. He would have just managed to diffuse it. Now, here we've got a message coming straight in from Santa Monica. I think you know her. Hi, Glow. How lovely. Must be very early for you. Will could have smoothed the waters in his acceptance speech where he apologized to simply everyone with no mention of Chris or the smack. That's absolutely, he apologized to everyone during his crying jag. Didn't apologize to Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gloria. She's live in California. Get that. God knows what time it is. They're blooming early.
Yeah, it is.
Right there. And Gloria, and look, and here she's saying, hi, Chantal. Gloria Miller took me on the best tour of Fox Studios when I was it was just fantastic. We had the most wonderful day. Absolutely wonderful day. Chantal, I know you're a very busy person. Bless you for this. We will see you later in the week.
Indeed.
Thank you for jumping in.
Lovely
Thank
to
you
meet
for
you,
your
Chantal.
expert. Bye-bye. Bye. Gloria's got insomnia. Well, join the club, Glow.
Hey, Gloria.
Here we've got this. Now, this is from Asa Don. I don't want to bring politics in, Asa, but I'm going to ring it. Read it. Would you read it, Neil? You got it?
Well, mate, Donald Trump, I remember this, Dr. Asa. Donald Trump mocked a disabled reporter and it reverberated throughout the media. It's never acceptable to mock someone with a disability or health issue. On the other hand, violence is not the answer either. Yeah, I agree.
It never is.
Too much violence in the world. I don't do violence. I probably was a hippie in a past life, but could there be an underlying mental health issue with Mr. Smith as he displayed a Jekyll and Hyde persona we've never witnessed before? That's an interesting point of view, Paul, because as I say, I mean, I know there's the stage persona, and they all wear the mask, particularly in Hollywood, as we all do to some degree, but certainly in Hollywood. But I would never have had that image of Will Smith where he would do something like that.
No, it's extraordinary.
He's bubbly and smiley and friendly, and really,
but he was livid. If you look at his face when people say, "Oh, it's acting," no, he was steaming. Paul Endicott. You're here now. Paul Endicott does wonderful tours. I mention it often because it's just nice, and I think when nice people do nice things, why not give them support? That makes it makes the world go round, right? It makes the world go round. So on Friday, what was it? Taylor Hawkins, whose career I followed assiduously. I'm going out on a limb here, guys, but I need your help. All right. So I'm just going to lay out what I'm. And Paul, please come back because Paul is an expert on all things to do with rock and roll. Taylor Hawkins, the drummer of the Foo Fighters, was found dead in his hotel room. The Foo Fighters were on tour. They were in Colombia. They were in where were they? Yeah, Bogota, I think, in Colombia, and he was found dead. 50 years old. They then do the beginning of the, not the full autopsy, but he had more drugs in him than, every Super Drugs and Boots branch in London put together. It was but the list went on forever, right? So when I first heard the news, I was upset because I'm a very, very amateur drummer, but I've always been obsessed with good drummers. And I've followed Taylor Hawkins for many, many years, watched his drum solos, watched his interviews, watched his documentaries. So I was very upset. And then when I thought, Leslie Ann Jones, who is probably the best rock writer well, I've known her forever. I've known her for like nearly 40 years now. But LAJ is a great writer. And she just wrote back to me and went, OD. That's all she wrote. And I thought, oh. And then my sympathy, I'm going to be honest with you, ebbed. And I felt very sorry for his wife. Very sorry for his two children. Horrible, horrible, horrible. But my thinking was this. And please don't think me harsh, but this is how I thought. I thought, you grow up and you want things in life, and suddenly life throws you a wonderful curve. You become a multi-millionaire. I mean, these guys are worth 50 million plus. I mean, they're worth fortunes. They're adored by hundreds of millions of people. They're treated like gods wherever they go, and yet it's not enough. You got a lovely wife, beautiful family. It's still not enough for some people. And I think
I have a theory.
With so many people, and I want to hear it. With so many people dying, horrible accident or from cancer or lingering death of Alzheimer's, and I've had experience of all of this ghastliness. When it's kind of self-induced, I'm not hugely sympathetic. And please, I know I'm supposed to be, but there is addiction and then there's addiction. What do you think?
I think I'm going to sound a bit hippy-dippy here, but I think unless you feel enough, and this really does tie into mental health, male and female, inside, then no matter what's on the outside only reflects what's on the inside. If you feel good enough inside, then everything else you'll see through that lens. If you don't, you'll always be trying to bring in more from the outside to fill that perceived kind of hole in the soul, if you know what I mean. And it doesn't matter if you're a performer on stage at the local church hall in front of 5 people or the Foo Fighters. If you don't have that sense of, feeling good, feeling whole, I suppose, then nothing will seem enough. Nothing will seem enough. And it seems impossible. I think Jim Carrey said, I'd like everyone to be rich and famous just so I could show that it didn't make you happy. And I've always said, yeah, I'd have a crack at being ridiculously rich. I reckon I could be happy as well. But I do think you've got to feel good about yourself first.
Well, you do, because we've often said, when people become complete a-holes, when, you've met them, I've met them, there's some absolute monsters out there. It's not the fame and money that changes them. They were always like that to start with.
Didn't Paul
They were
McKenna?
always, it just exact. Sorry, what you say?
I think I remember Paul McKenna's first book, a mutual colleague of both of ours, and he said in his very first book, money doesn't change you; it reveals you.
Oh God, that's so true.
It reveals.
Oh, that's clever, clever McKenna.
Yeah, and he is.
Remember when he tried to hypnotize us and he failed? It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Now, here we go. This is very, and I know why you'll say, by the way, Ruthie Siegel in France is saying hi to Gloria Miller over in Santa Monica, California.
We're happy to do your shout outs, Ruthie.
Of course we blooming are. She's been in France for years. Now, this is from Elizabeth Green. I'm going to be very careful with my wording here, Neil. So just look at the amber light warning. And now we're getting to the meat of it. And Elizabeth then goes on to say money is horrible. No, money isn't.
No,
horrible.
I disagree.
Money is not horrible. It's how you become is horrible if you let it.
Exactly. Money is neutral. Money is. I heard a lovely definition from quite a spiritual lady the other day. She said, money is just given to you to play with. It was very sort of innocent and childlike. Money is a tool. We put a lot of emotional charge on money. We compare ourselves with money, but ultimately it's just a tool. It's like saying a shovel is horrible. A shovel is just a tool. If you use it for what it's designed for, digging holes, it's great. Use money in a positive way, it's great. A knife is a useful tool, but not if you stab someone with it or if you hit someone over the head with a shovel. It's not the tool. It's what you do with it. And if you felt good about yourself, you would use the tool for what it was meant to be used for, if I may.
But you and I have met these people, and you know they become obnoxious because they always were. And what it does, what fame and fortune allows some people to do, is to live out their nastiness, which they couldn't do before.
Play out that shadow side, which is acceptable in those kind of circles, because people are never sure if it's real or not. But in everyday society, wouldn't be. I think it is possible to be really happy and really rich. I actually think it's possible to do, but start with the happy first.
If you look at somebody like, I had a shop last week and found out, and I thought it was a joke, but I watched the interview, and it's a current interview. It's only a few days old, with Keith Richards of the Stones. He stopped smoking. He stopped smoking.
No.
Swear to God. He said, I've given up smoking. No. He talked about it's not like I read it on Twitter from someone up in Stoke-on-Trent. Keith Richards is saying, yeah, I've stopped smoking.
Good Lord.
So they asked Steve, the drummer, who's wonderful, and they said, have you noticed any difference? He said, yeah, he can hold the notes and sing the songs in the original keys now. And it's like he will outlast us all. You can be happy. You can be happy, or you can say, no, I don't want this. I don't want this anymore. And you can do something. It's just such a shame, isn't it? Because we're given this, what can I put? We're given this framework that if you do X, Y, and Z, this will work for you. And as you've said, Neil, unless it's inside you to start, nothing will make you happy.
No, I think
drugs are never the answer. I'm sorry to sound so boring.
I learned recently as well, relatively recently, that if I'm not pointing fingers at anyone here, but if people take cocaine and then drink alcohol, it converts into the body into coke ethanol by chemical reaction, and that can actually stop the heart. So it's really pretty dangerous to mix those two.
Well, everything was horribly enlarged, his organ, because
I'm not saying he was doing that. I'm just saying if people do in general. I'm certainly
look at this. This is coming in from Santa Monica. Talk about this as a notice board. This is from Gloria Miller, who's just larger than life, a fabulous character. Me, Ruthie, and Shirley, you all went to Skinner's Girls' School. Oh my God, they all went to the same school.
Good Lord, it's a small world, isn't it?
Isn't it ridiculous? So Shirley's over in, I would call it Calvados. It's not Calabasas now, where the Kardashians live.
Sounds glorious.
Gloria's in Santa Monica.
Oh.
And Ruthie's somewhere in the middle of France.
Wow. And we unite them all as one on
MA. Through the power and magic of men's radio station. Right. First of all, I'm thrilled that you could make it today. Now, let's talk about why you're here, because this is something that drives me nuts. And you said, would you be interested? I said, duh, yeah. Scammers.
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 I went on, confessions. I went on Tinder, just to did a little bit of swiping, as the Beastie Boys say, you've got to swipe to the right to party.
Tony party.
So I was swiping away, and I got a match, and she was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I could probably try and show you a picture here if you like.
I've been trying, by the way, to put up your slide things, but it got too. I've got your song. Don't worry.
Okay,
I'm
well,
play that.
I can go through the slides if you like. I've actually got it on PowerPoint, because what I like to do with scammers, I mean, first the series.
Yes, do it. All right, if you can do it from your end. It was great. I went through it this morning when Neil sent it over to me.
I'll just see if I can show you this picture. I've got it on my phone, because this is what they do. So first of all, I want to do a bit of a, because we can get caught, because scammers, I have to say, are very good at it.
Damn right. Okay, that's working for us. I think
that's Maya.
That's it. There we go. Right. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
That's actually not the best picture. I mean, she's
like that sort of thing. It's marvelous.
So what they do, it's phishing spelt with a PH. So for any of you that don't know about this, I'm going to give you a quick lesson in scamming.
Yes, please.
So basically, people fish, and they will always push your hot buttons. So things that drive human beings: money, sex, status. The fatal. There's a fatal four. I can't remember what the fourth one is now. Survival, probably. But they're very, very good. Rather like good marketers, but marketers are on the light side. Scammers are on the dark side, if you like. But they push the human hot button to get you to react. Okay. So on Tinder, picture of a beautiful, beautiful girl who's interested in me. And sometimes, men we can.
Well, I've fallen at the first fence straight away. I mean, I've known you for many years. Too much. Suddenly, I'm the Chris Rock of radio. Forget it.
You are. I'm going to reach through.
Come and slap me now.
Yeah. Ooh, anyway, so if our egos need a bit of a boost, we could pick up on that. And then what she did, she said, "Oh, my Tinder's not working. Can we email?" That's a red flag.
Ooh, my Tinder's not working, but my email is. Yeah, that's going to happen.
Get as many details as they can out of you by drawing you in, creating a rapport with you, pressing your hot buttons, get as many deets as they can out of you, and then steal your money, essentially. So now, what I like to do with scammers, I like to play little games with them. I like to have a bit of fun with them, and I just kind of like baiting them back. If they're trying to me over, I'm going to back with them for a little bit. So I set up a fake email address, Neil Max 1000. Max is scanned backwards, by the way. And I made a little
oh God, right?
You can
Mr. Brainbox.
You can still see me, right? Because I put my PowerPoint on, yeah.
No, I can see you perfectly.
Okay, good. So what I'm going to so first of all, it was a match, Tinder match. You like each other, and then the beautiful picture comes up, and then I thought, let's have some fun. How far can I push this and see if it gets noticed? So I said, "Dear Mayor, wow, I've cleaned this up, by the way. I did this on stage last night. That was the X-rated version. I'll give you the PG version here.
You can do the sort of 15A. You can do whatever you like.
I can do 12, 15, can I? All right.
Of course you can. You're all over 21 here.
Okay. You are beautiful. I'm glad we can communicate this way. I find Tinder so impersonal and so many people lie about who they are. My last date turned out to be a hairy trucker that wanted an illicit encounter at the Cobham services. And I'm not kidding. It is so true that money cannot make you happy. I'm richer now than I've ever been in my life. Throw in the bait, reel her back in, assuming it is a her. I've got it all. The house, the job, no kids, but it all means nothing if our souls are empty. I hope you're as beautiful inside as you are out. In anticipation, Neil." She writes, "Hello, Neil. I'm so glad you answered me. Now we can get to know each other. Smiley. My name is Irina." Red flag. Irina, it was Maya a minute ago.
Well, she's entitled to have several names.
I'm 38 years old. I work in a beauty salon in the Russian city of Cezanne, which, given the world situation at the moment, very tasteful, Mr. Scammer. Red flag. Good. My height is 169 centimeters. My weight, 54 kilograms. Red flag. How many women freely give out their weight?
Let me just answer that very quickly. Nobody. Not one woman I've ever met in my years here. Ever.
So there's 3 red flags already. The name, the location, and the weight. We're all scared of being rejected. I hope we give each other a chance. I'm sending you a little video and picture I took of me this morning, which was a lovely picture, but I looked at the date stamp and it was the middle of June last year it was taken. Red flag number 4. So I write back, "Irina, oh, I'm intrigued. What beauty salon do you work at?" Enclosed is a picture of me, a silly one I took at the office party last Christmas. I'm sure fashion and dress sense is important to you. High fives and kisses, Martin. I changed my name to Martin Let's see if she notices. I'm just trying to find the picture that I sent here. Hold on a minute.
Killing me.
All right. So this is the picture that I sent. Now, bear in mind, Russ, she's seen my picture profile on Tinder, and I sent that. And I changed my name to Martin. Let's see what happens. She writes, "Hi, Martin. I'm so glad to get your answer today. It's nice you're interested in me. I hope we will succeed, but tell me more about you." I said, "I certainly will. I'm so grateful you're showing me some affection. It's been a bit lacking in my life. I once took a girl out for coffee and she asked me to pay. How demanding. Most women laugh at me. I do have a few issues. I have OCD, ADHD, COPD, memory loss. Tourette's syndrome, hemorrhoids, chubby tail, as I said, Tourette's syndrome and anal warts. I'm pre-diabetic, post-traumatic, but I guess being rich and hung like an elephant makes up for all of that." Martin, I'm not looking for a man in Russia. I'm disappointed in Russian men. I write, I hear their Bolsheviks are smaller than average. She writes, where I live, the ratio of females is 2 to 1. Of course, most men are married already. I don't want to split up families. I said, quite right. Being dishonest holds a special place in hell. I'm willing to leave my family for love. I'm interested in everything about you. What does a typical day look like for you? I said, applying hemorrhoid cream. She says, I sent you a video. Roxette, it must have been love. And she did. She attached the video. It must have been love, but it's all over now. I write back and say, no, I don't like that. It's not all over. This is a beautiful beginning. I've made you a video because she said she was Russian. I said, I'm sure you know Elton John, Irina.
Oh, God. Here, and here we go. Here is Neil Long's beautiful.
I did, because I said, in 1982, Elton John wrote a song about his love for a Russian woman, behind the communist war when it was his love for Nikita. So I've written you a song called Irina.
You may, all around the world, in Santa Monica, in France, everywhere, you might want to get some Kleenex because this is emotional. It's a beautiful and tender side of Neil Long that, I'll be honest, now years together, I've never seen. This is Neil Long.
Hey, Irina, is it cold in your little corner of the world? Where are you? I must confess, I think there's something wrong with our GPS. You do such things to me. I'm checking bank security. I don't know why you do this, wish you'd stop it. Where's my wallet?
What do you think you're doing here? Can you do that on your own time?
Sorry, Sarge.
Soon. I love you, Cynthia.
It's...
Oh, hello.
Beautiful. There we go.
It seems it's just me for a moment. It was nearly the Neil Long show there.
That's
weird.
weird.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to the sound. It's gone a bit peculiar.
That's what I like to do with scammers. I'm just seeing if she or he responds to that, and I want to do a video call.
It is beautiful. It was touching.
Well,
I didn't
realize
realise
they're trying to steal my money, right? And they will
you want to
steal.
check you want to check? I'm going to take you off and put you back on because just stay there for a sec. Just stay there for a second. Thank God this isn't live, eh?
We'll edit it out later. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we'll do it. Well, we'll do it in the mix. Neil, I heard the show. You
career,
understand how to press the buttons on the desk or not?
If you can't even
Very
do
weird.
that,
You've gone terribly quiet.
Oh,
Don't know why. David Green, and I think David, you speak for people all over the world watching the Daily Show men's radio station. That was emotional.
well, it was. But the point is,
it was beautiful.
the point is, they will steal your money. The golden rule, everybody, is even if they say, she could quite conceivably say, I'm desperate to escape Russia. Please send me money. Pull on the heartstrings, and then you could lose a ton. There's legitimate charities. Don't send money. Don't send money. Do not send money. Don't give out details. All I'm doing is wasting her time. But if someone, a little bit more gullible, you actually could lose a lot of money. And some people lose thousands, hundreds of thousands. And sometimes they will slow mark you. They do it over a period of years. really, really slow. So just be careful. And I think particularly for mental health for men, we feel we've got to have all the answers. And if we're fooled like that, we will feel like a failure, and that can affect self-esteem. So just be a little bit savvy. I don't want to sound condescending. If I'm telling you how to suck eggs,
It's
tell
a
me to be
very,
quiet.
although we laugh about it. Can you hear me okay, by the way? Sorry to
Loud
check.
and clear, Russ. Yeah, can you hear me?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I've gone even deafer than normal. It's interesting that although we laugh at it because you've made a terrific comedy routine, it is very clever how they get right to the heart, to the nub of the matter, isn't it?
It's the hot buttons.
Yeah, these hot buttons.
Hot buttons of our egos. Joe Vitale, have you heard of him?
Who?
Joe Vitale, massive marketer.
No.
He wrote a book about another genius marketer, and human beings have got 4 hot buttons, and this guy could write this stuff that would sell every time. And I'm trying to remember the 4: sex, status, money, survival. It's something like that. But push those buttons, and people will respond. Status.
Look at this coming in from New York State. This is
Will Smith and Jada.
No, I have an elderly relative who lost almost $300,000 last year. Jeez.
Yeah. I know we're making comedy out of it, but this is the serious side. They will get to the hot buttons, and they will always using fear as well. We've all seen those emails. Oh, your account's been hacked. Quick, click on this email before they get your money, and then give us your details, and we'll transfer it to another account. You know,
I had a very sophisticated scam 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was a scam. I get a letter, and it's coming from a firm of a sort of money firm, chase up debt from Birmingham, all on proper headed paper. The whole thing's typed out, got my name, got my home address, that apparently I'm going to be taken to court by Enterprise Car Rentals for £850 worth of damage that I did, and I haven't paid, and I've been written to, and blah, blah, blah. And then they sent me this letter twice. Slight problem with that is I haven't hired a car in about 7 years, let alone an enterprise car.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, when I did hire a car, which was the last time I was in Los Angeles, I used Turo, which is a fantastic system where you rent somebody's personal car.
Yeah.
It's a great system, which I won't bother to bore you with, but it's so much cheaper than any of the car rental companies. And they drop off, you can get anything you want, from an old banger to a Rolls Royce, whatever you want. So it's a great system. So I'm thinking, and at first, of course, you know how we beat ourselves up. And you and I have talked about this. Is why I love having you co-hosting the show. And immediately I thought, oh my God, I've done something. I must have done. And then I think, wait a minute, I haven't hired a car.
Yeah.
I hired a van, but there was no damage on it. And the van was, moved my kids, one of the kids when they were moving flats.
Send the letter to me. Let me play with them.
Well, I wrote back straight away saying,
I'm sure you did. On guilt.
I wrote back with both barrels.
Yeah.
A cease and desist letter.
Too bloody right.
With the names of my lawyers. And I said, you're fine. And I want the proof. I want to see the paperwork. I want to know the damage. I want to see never heard from them again, obviously. If they come back again, then we've got a problem on our hands. But it's, yeah. Well,
I just remember one more during lockdown. Can I share one more with you? Because this
go ahead.
This really did capture someone's hot buttons. Perhaps it's the other Russell Kane that hired the car. Yeah, blame him.
Yeah, I'm blaming him.
Lady that I know was terrified, but this is a common scam. And again, it's using fear to make you react. But I do have another friend, a female friend that used to be a copper, which is a very handy contact to have. So lady number one, she gets an email, and the bit that did really creeped her out is that she got an email saying, you've been looking at inappropriate pictures. I don't mean illegal pictures, but stuff you'd be embarrassed if people knew that you've been looking at. And they quoted her password as well.
Oh my God.
They had her password, and they said, predictably, if you don't give us this money in Bitcoin, and that's obviously it's a scam in Bitcoin, then we will push these photographs all over the internet. So, and she's terrified. I hadn't heard this one before, but I suspected there's probably a simple solution. So I had a word with my ex-copper friend, who was brilliant, and she said, no, that they get you if you answer. It's a bit like they chuck a load of bait out into the sea,
Yeah.
but they can't see where they've thrown it. But the minute you hit reply or engage them in any way, even if you're telling them to piss off, the minute you do that, it's like it lights up and then they're onto you. Okay. So the first thing to do, she said, is don't reply. Second thing, run malware through your computer because they might have put some sort of keystroke software in. 3, change your password. And 4, forget it. Which is exactly what she did. And that was absolutely good advice. Don't let that fear motivate you.
I feel very strongly
reboot your computer, run a malware thing through it, change your password, and then forget it. If you don't answer, they can't see you. That's really key.
It's absolutely key. I on a slightly different tangent, I feel very passionate about this.
Go on.
Because when my mum had the early stages of Alzheimer's, which went through for 16 delightful years.
Yeah, it's awful.
The number of people who were trying to scam her, it was disgusting. And of course, when you haven't got, excuse me, all your mental faculties. So I had to go around. I mean, sometimes I was going around to my mum's twice a day, but I'd go around and take all the post. Because one of the things that Alzheimer's does, not in every case, but it does, is you think you have to answer. It's a sort of almost becomes an obsessional thing. So she's replying and checks are going off. And it was an absolute freaking nightmare on top of watching your mum disappear before your very eyes. So I do feel very strongly. And as David Green says, and he said, I'm putting it up against scammers are the parasites of humanity. They are disgusting.
Well, they pick on the vulnerable, David. You're absolutely right. You know, picking on Russ's mum or someone, you know, when they're in a vulnerable state. And, you know, because my mum had dementia as well, not for that long. I mean, I must admit, I don't know how you did it for 16 years, Russ. But, you know, it affects well, I don't know if I can speak for you, but it affected my mental health as well. So I wouldn't.
Absolutely. But,
and when
we've done special shows. We've done special shows on it because it's how it ripples out. Because
it does. And under stress,
it ate me alive. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah,
no,
me too. My mental health took a massive dip, and I wrote that blog, and then you invited me on here very kindly, and it was great to share. But under stress, of course, we don't make good decisions. We don't make good decisions. Scientifically proven that, you know, the prefrontal cortex winks out under stress, and we're responding from that amygdala, that emotional center, which is very kind of monkey see, monkey do. It doesn't have that cognitive kind of critical facility going, hang on a minute, slow down, let's think about this. It just reacts. That's the thing. So when our logical faculties are down, which will happen if we're under stress, and our mental health is down. So do be careful. I don't want to see anyone get scammed.
Isn't it funny how I went to the opticians just in Tesco's Vision Express. I don't know if I said this the other week. I went at the end of last week. I was feeling fine, feeling good. And I have to say, I'm not giving them a plug. They don't sponsor the show or anything, but their equipment was really great. They were very efficient. Big thumbs up. So because of COVID and everything, I haven't been there for a couple of years. Like we have, I mean, today's excitement, showbiz update, the dentist. Jesus. So anyway, I go there and he's doing all the eye tests and blah, 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 with the state-of-the-art equipment. It's really great. I mean, you're in Tesco's, for goodness sake, not Harley Street. And he goes, you do know you've got debris in your right eye, don't you? I said, I'm sorry? And he goes, yeah, you got some debris in your right eye. Can you feel it? Neil, up to that point, never felt it. Now, of course I feel it because he's told me. So then he tries to get the debris out of my eye with a cotton bud. I nearly threw up. I can't stand anything near my eyes. I come back. Then he tried with a tissue. Then, now I've got to have an operation somehow, whatever, to remove it. But it's what your mind does. I hadn't noticed anything. And now I'm walking around. I got debris in my eye. Oh my God, I got debris. I can feel it. Well, I didn't feel it before, did I? I feel exactly the same. It's just what your mind does to you.
Well, the mind is very powerful. Mind is very, very powerful. Mind is
absolutely fascinating how it works.
Oh, it is absolutely fascinating. It was fascinating watching. Did you see the Derren Brown one where he pretended to be an evangelistic healer? You know, heal in the name of Jesus.
Yeah.
But he told the audience up front, not the audience he was playing to, but the audience watching on telly, that he was fake. And it's just showmanship and psychology. He said, I'm not a healer. It's all fake. But they were getting actually medical results in the audience. That's the power of our mind, folks. It really is quite something. So
it is extraordinary. Look at this. This is you've had a real rich vein of interest here, Neil Long.
happy to talk
Paul
about it.
Endicott, not only on dating sites, I was recently taken in by the charms of a business opportunist. As an ex-director of business and legal affairs of a well-known music brand, they are everywhere, you betcha. And then Paul Claridge, who we love a lot. I'm sorry, I got the wrong one up, idiot. Sorry, we disappear. I'll just read this. Oh, could you read this out, Neil? Rather
Yeah,
than
by all
me?
means. Paul Claridge. Hi, Paul. Good to have you on the show. My friend's elderly uncle, who has dementia, has been robbed of over £100,000 by a woman he trusted. She took advantage of his confused state and basically helped herself to his money. She even took him to multiple cash points late at night to withdraw cash, knowing he wouldn't understand what was happening and would forget doing it. Dear God. Luckily, my friend got suspicious and the police have now arrested the woman. Investigation is ongoing. Well, good.
Oh, God.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Paul.
But, you know, Neil, look at that for a second from the point of one's mental ability. To be able to disassociate yourself from something which is so on every level vile, wrong, and horrible. You've got to be some kind of sociopath to do that, haven't you? I mean, it's vile.
I truly don't understand it. I can understand that desperate people do desperate things. You know, I can understand why people might steal to feed a starving child. That's all very understandable. But this sort of deliberate campaign against people who are vulnerable is cowardly as well.
It's very, it is cowardly. It's like you see little posts on Facebook and, you know, people have been collecting in their local pub, whatever the local chat, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It could be to build a scout hut or a village grid. It doesn't matter what the hell it is. And somebody comes in and they steal the tin.
Yeah.
It's so, in the great scheme of things, like invading another sovereign state, I understand there are levels, but it's still revolting. It doesn't make it any less revolting. I mean, nobody dies on it. But
it's just insidious. I don't fully understand it. Obviously, people that do that obviously don't believe in their abilities to create success in their life either.
And Elizabeth Green from Manhattan, New York City, is saying, I was scammed by business partners. It was so harmful.
It is harmful.
It's
a violation of trust, Elizabeth. It's absolute
and
violation.
here's the question. I'm going to ask Elizabeth Green. I'm going to ask
Honesty rocks.
I'm going to ask Paul Endicott and everybody else. Do you in some way blame yourself? Because human nature is, you know, a complete, let's call them crooks, right? I'm not saying Elizabeth Green's business partners were. I'm not saying that. I'm looking in the wider picture. I'm not speaking about Elizabeth. But when crooks, or put it mildly, dishonest people take you for a ride, human nature is, oh, well, whereas the scam, which it is pretty sophisticated, but you blame yourself.
I imagine some people would, if they've got that about them anyway, where they would blame themselves. It's a bit like apologising when someone bumps into you.
That's a very British thing. In
very
New York,
so.
They just go, "Hey, look where you're going."
Yeah, but it really isn't your fault. These people, I will give it to them, are clever and they know how to push the human hot buttons. They really do. You know, were they to use their powers for good, they could do a lot of great things in the world. God, I sound like my mother.
But they are clever. And the other thing is, I worked with someone. It turned out to be a complete con man. I don't want to do a show about it because I'm not giving any oxygen of publicity whatsoever. But he was a complete con man. Now, he never took a penny from me, not a penny. And we had a terrific time together. And he was brilliant. At one point, I said to him, "Why are you doing this? You're so smart. You don't need to do any of this." And he didn't do it for the money. He said, "I want the celebrity." He ended up in prison, by the way. I think he got a 5-year prison term.
Wow. Because
this madness got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until, I'm not going to say what he did, but it was huge and really illegal. And he was put in prison.
Wow.
Michael Verby. I don't know. Michael, I was scammed into 20 years. Michael, please. Please, that's a shocking thing to say. Please give my regards to your sister Stacey. I hope you're both well. I have written about them. Oh, there we go. And what do we got here? And this is it. This is David Hume. I'm responsible for my actions, so I would hold some blame.
Yeah, but what about actions where, yes, it's a paradox. We are responsible for our actions. We did it, but we were being deceived.
But when it seems correct, plausible, and logical,
exactly,
beating ourselves up just adds to the pain.
People do the best they can, given what they know and understand at the time. Had you had that enlightenment and insight before you were scammed, it wouldn't have happened. But the fact is, you didn't know, and that's what they're playing on. And anyway,
on that bombshell, that's all we've got time for. Neil, I hope you're around later in the week. I love it when you're here. It'd be absolutely marvelous.
Always happy to come and step up for you, Russ. You know this. I'd be delighted to.
Oh, that's fantastic news. All over the world. Thank you for watching. And we'll be back Wednesday, 12 o'clock. Until then, try and stay out of trouble. Don't get slapped.